Okay, now Christmas has actually passed, and the semester is over, and grades have already been calculated for this class. So, why are we doing this? I will go directly to the Oxford Dictionary and explain to you what an addendum is. This is what it says according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the OED as we like to call it. Addendum, number one, as a noun, an item of additional material added to the end of a book or document, typically in order to correct, clarify, or supplement something. Now, actually, the whole story of this lecture is that a student showed up when there wasn't a class, asking when the last class was. And I said, oh, the class is over. But in fact, we were, after I checked, I realized that we were short one class. So that student happened to be the youngest student in the class, which I have nothing but respect for the work ethic of freshmen who are looking to go to more classes and to be educated, to get the most out of their education. So because of that student, whether you like it or not, we have another class. But this is just really, this is not designed for younger students, undergrads. The class is designed for those of you who are seniors or juniors, third or fourth year. So I think it makes all teachers happy when students show up wanting to study. If you're a good teacher and you care about your students, that is, which I do. So I just wanted to add some material, some content. We started off the class talking about philosophy. It's because the philosophy department, it's not a department. It is a department, but really philosophy is the sort of origin of the university itself. That major, that discipline is starting to disappear because we've taken, the university has made it so that and the demands of people have made it so that universities are a way to gain skills, experience, knowledge that can be applied to a certain job, which I think for the most part means that specialization is at its sort of maximum point. This is my own theory, but you're young, so bear with me. At a certain point, you can be only so specialized until like a human being is not as useful as something else, like a machine that can do something very specific, and that's it, right? And that's sort of the way that things have gone as technology has developed. I have no idea where things are going to go, and I'm not predicting anything. However, that was your paper was about the future and trying to take an idea and see where that idea would go and think about the past and the present and the future and apply critical thinking skills to that idea and develop it and present it to me in written form. That is what I asked you to do, and I was very happy to see that there were some very good results from that effort. So I think the reason that this kind of topic is important is this first statement right here that I've written, is that there's something about our time right now, where we're on the cusp, we're on the edge of something, but we don't know what it is. And if you look back in history, you can look at my favorite, as you know, William Shakespeare. Harold Bloom is he just passed away a few years ago. He was a Yale professor. He's my favorite critic, Shakespeare critic. He just has a sort of style that I appreciate, and he was in that moment too. In that at the sort of the end of the period of what we call the medieval period, where things were centered around religion and around the church and around institutions related to that, and things were shifting into what we have now. You can see that we're kind of at the end of this 400-year or 500-year period where science is dominated, increasingly dominated our life, and now there's some balance between spirituality and religion, and society is composed of all these different things, and we're on the edge of something new. I'm not sure what it is, and Hamlet was not sure what it was either, and that's why that character is such an excellent example. That is a person who is very intelligent and very reflective and thinks about everything as not here or there or anywhere. This is a Dr. Seuss rhyme, I think. But anyway, where you are right now is easier to understand. Where you're going is difficult. So I know the paper was hard to do, and I really enjoyed reading some of them. All of them were good, and all of you deserve credit for your effort. So that's what I want to say. And the grades are high, and that's what they should be, because that's what the effort indicated. So hopefully all of you are satisfied with your scores. But more than that, I think just the development and the thinking, thinking about your future and thinking about yourself and reflecting about society, whatever it was, whatever idea you decided, whether it was technology or it was morality or it was, like I said, there's all these things sort of coming together, and they're going to, I think, launch human beings into the next age, or we're all going to. World War III is going to be. What does Einstein say? Einstein says that. I don't know what I don't know what the next World War will be. Okay, hold on a second. I don't know what weapons the next World War will be fought with. He's talking about World War III. So we're developing to the point where we have destructive power beyond the imagination of Hamlet or people 400 years ago. They can't imagine the idea of a weapon like the atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb that would potentially kill 1 million people instantly. Potentially, right? And going to space and all the rest. So Einstein said, I don't know what weapons the next World War III, will be fought with. But the war after that, which would be World War IV, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter. The war after that one would be fought with sticks and stones. So there's an expression in English, to be knocked back to the Stone Age. That literally means that we would destroy our society and our civilization, not Korean civilization or Canadian or British or American, right? I'm going to mention this book in a second. But all human civilization would be crushed and thrown backwards. And it has happened already. when the Europeans came to North America and South America, that is essentially what happened. Was so many people died, um, directly and indirectly from contact, that the civilizations of the Inca and the Aztec, um, and the North American ones in the Mississippi Valley, the Cherokee, they were decimated. They were thrown backwards. The Black Death, to a certain extent, certain catastrophic events, natural events, or human events, inadvertent human events can do this, and we know that this can happen. So we can do it. We can do it intentionally. So not to throw a shadow over our future or the essay that you wrote, but there is a shadow hanging over the future always. That's one of my professors. I was doing my PhD the last 4 years, and I said, I took my courses, and my area of expertise is British literature, so I took a lot of courses from one particular professor, but every book that we read, it was all novels. They were all so tragic. The ending, like the reflection on the not just the future, but like the present and the past, like all of the elements of the books pointed towards, personal, social, and sort of civilizational tragedy. All of them, without exception. I think there was not a happy book among them. And I said, after the third course, I had to ask my professor why the course list was just full of terribly sad endings. And he said, well, this is reality. This is what the common experience, the human experience, is not one of, we have to work hard. We have to work hard to be happy. I know sometimes not working hard makes you happy, but, working hard and experiencing loss is part of the human experience. And so that was like not an unconscious choice. It is books that reflect reality more accurately tend not to be happy stories. The best Shakespeare stuff are tragedies. The best Greek plays, the best stories, the best Homer's Odyssey, the Fall of Troy, the Trojan War, right? All of these, the greatest things that have ever been written in English language, and I'm gonna say that's probably not just English, other languages too, they're tragic. So we are in this situation where we're probably living in a very critical time, sort of 100 years ago, before World War II, World War One. I guess you go back to World War One, to the start of it all. Like every 100 years, there's going to be a crisis that comes around, and human beings have to come together or destroy themselves, one or the other. That's just the reality that we live in. We have to, like I said, we have to work together. I searched for this. I couldn't find any older reference to it, so I guess this is the written source. Is surprisingly, this is my I always say some people trace their development, educational development or intellectual development back to certain points in their life, in certain teachers or certain certain objects, material. Mine, I would say, my interest in reading is probably natural. This is what I got for Christmas. I got other things too, but Hamlet, um, Poems Unlimited by Harold Bloom. So selected poems and criticism. How to Hide an Empire, a short history of the greater United States, which is talking about the Philippines and Puerto Rico and Alaska and Hawaii and other areas that became part of the United States since 1945, which I think it's a fascinating book. I've already read it, so I bought it so I could read it again. And this one is huge. This is my winter vacation. This will absorb my free time, I think. I do have to study other things, but Napoleon, A Life of Napoleon. I've read a bunch of biographies about the same guy. There's about 10,000 biographies about Napoleon. It's pretty crazy, but this is one of the best ones, and yeah, untouched so far. But I haven't read a page of it yet. But I was told by a very reputable source that this is a good book. It's about 900 pages long, so it'll probably take me a month to read that. Why do I do this kind of stuff? To some people, it would be torture, I think. And to me too, reading a long book when I have to read it for a certain reason or a certain purpose or for a class is different. And if you decide that you want to read things in your free time because you want to, because you love reading, where does that come from? For me, it comes from my mother. My mother used to read to me and my brother before we went to bed. And when I started reading by myself, one of the books I started reading was Pawn of Prophecy. It's the first book. There's 10 books, and I actually read them, and then I caught up to the writer. So the writer, I was waiting for the 10th book, and then it was released, and I read the 10th book in 3 days. I went camping with my family, and I sat there. I was probably 11 years old or 12, and what I did is I sat in a chair beside a fire all day, read this 300, 400 page book. So this is not a normal behavior, especially because I was a ADHD type kid. I ran around, I played soccer a lot, but I had this other twin, part of me, which was addicted to reading. So fantasy books in particular, dragons, magic, items, swords. I eventually started playing computer games and stuff like that when they were released. This is a real book though. And it's about 300 pages long. The last book is The Series of Kel, the 10th book that was released in maybe 1992 or 93 when I was in middle school. So we're living in momentous times. The things that are happening right now are going to have a big effect on our lives. That's sort of that was the idea behind the paper that you wrote. There's a lot of ways of looking at it. There's a lot of things happening, but either way, things can go badly. Things can go well. It's up to us, and there's a lot of us now. There's 8 billion people on Earth, so we have to try and look at things from perspectives that make sense. That we can try to find the best path forward for all of us. And you're the next generation, so that's the message I want to leave with you today, is that writing is part of it's one way. Discussion, listening to lectures, reading, and writing. These are skills. These are core skills. Even if we have artificial intelligence to write for us, it doesn't it's not going to benefit us in the same way that until there's a point where we are letting machines do everything for us, and we have no engagement with each other or engagement with the material that we're looking at. Artificial intelligence is simply a tool in order to get something done. So you can be more efficient, and where that's happening everywhere. It doesn't mean that writing is not important to develop your core ability to understand and engage with other people and with the world. We shouldn't lose that. I think once we've lost that, then we've lost the essence of what it is to be human. And we will end up in a dystopian society. I think I mentioned utopia is an ideal future, and dystopian is a sort of fallen dark disaster of a future that we don't want to experience. Sometimes one person's utopia is another person's dystopia. So you've got to be aware that if you want to be very cynical, human beings don't experience, the peak of some people's civilizations occur at the expense of others. The British Empires and the American Empire, if you want to call it that, the American supremacy, the American dominance, cultural dominance, came at the expense of other countries' power, right? I'm not saying it's a zero-sum game that China has to be less powerful for America to be more powerful, or vice versa. China has to be more powerful and America has to be weaker. It doesn't have to happen like that, but like there is competition, and human beings have the tendency to fail to cooperate on an equal basis, and it's very, very difficult. That I think that's why my British and American culture classes, this class, Composition 3, and my British and American culture classes are my favorite classes to teach, simply because they face the reality of that fact that we need to have a balance between Korean culture and Chinese culture and American culture and Canadian culture and so on, like cultural flux. The balance and the flow of power and material and resources and expression and population and so on. We need, what we're trying to achieve is the greatest happiness for the greatest number. I forget who said that, but I think that's Adam Smith. It sounds capitalist or utilitarian. Okay, let me just, to end this class, I never get to this in the British and American culture class, and it's a chance for me just to plug the book. If you never took this class, I think you should read this book, because it would be very informative if you read it. Yeah, click like or subscribe, etc. This is a poem written by Lord Alfred Tennyson, who was a British imperialist. He wrote during the Crimean War, which was a war that Britain and France fought together against the Russians. So it's kind of it resonates a little bit now with the EU and America and Ukraine and so on. Okay, but when I included this had not actually, it might have been simultaneous, but not intentionally. So the war broke out, and this is a famous poet who wrote during the Crimean War period, and Crimea is one of the territories that Russia possesses, that Ukraine is trying to repossess, along with the Donbass. Okay, this is the poem. Oh, yet we trust. Oh, yet we trust that somehow good will be the final goal of ill, to pangs of nature, sins of will, defects of doubt, and taints of blood, that nothing walks with aimless feet, that not one life shall be destroyed, or cast as rubbish to the void, when God hath made the pile complete, that not a worm is cloven in vain, that not a moth with vain desire is shriveled in fruitless fire, or but subserves another's gain. Behold, we know not anything. I can but trust that good shall fall, at least far off, at least to all. And every winter changed to spring, so runs my dream. But what am I? An infant crying in the night, an infant crying for the light, and with no language but a cry. So it's the hope. It's the idealistic, he's basically saying, we all hope that all this pain and suffering and war and death, even an insect, even, he says, even a moth that flies into the candle, or the, more recently, an incandescent lantern or something, fries itself because it's like, the light, and then, it burned me. This is what our life is composed of, and hope is an essential thing. The spring follows the winter. That things will be bad, and we'll endure it, and then we'll recover, and we'll be born again. He's obviously, there's a Christian sort of background image there, but it goes right through Roman and Greek, culture to, okay, yes, Siri, I don't need to talk to you, thank you. It goes right back through Western civilization, the whole idea of spring and renewal, and this descent into Hades, and then the return, so that Demeter can be reunited with her daughter after she goes down into the depths of hell or Hades and comes back. This is a literary and historical and social narrative, which has happened many times. So we anticipate with hope that any bad situation will sort of pass, and we'll endure it, and even we might die in some cases, and recover and be reborn into a better situation. So thank you very much. In particular, some of you, if you request some feedback from me personally, that I will do by email to you individually. But just a great class to teach, and I enjoyed the conversations, and the writing was well done, and I wish all of you the best. And if you need anything from me, recommendation or advice about your future studies, then you know where to find me. So thank you for listening, and have a good winter vacation, and Happy New Year.